The year was 1969, and Ford had a problem. Chevy's Camaro Z28 was dominating the Trans Am series. But instead of backing down, Ford unleashed a beast built for one purpose: total track domination. This is the story of the Mustang Boss 302, a car born from racing, forged in rebellion, and designed to crush the competition. While Pontiac's 421 Super Duty was rewriting the rules of raw power, Ford engineers were crafting a different kind of weapon, one that balanced brutal horsepower with razor-sharp handling. The Boss 302 wasn't just a muscle car, it was a street-legal race car, packing a high-revving V8, aggressive suspension, and a no-compromise attitude. But this wasn't just about speed, it was about revenge. Ford needed to dethrone the Camaro, and the Boss 302 was their answer. So how did this snarling Mustang go from underdog to legend? And why does it still command respect over 50 years later? Strap in, because we're tearing into the legacy of the Boss 302, the Mustang that refused to lose. Birth of an outlaw. By 1968, the Ford Mustang had already conquered America's roads as the definitive pony car. But on the racetrack, where it mattered most, Ford was getting humiliated. The SCCA Trans Am series, dominated by Chevrolet's Camaro Z28 and its ferocious 302 cubic inch V8, had one rule: engines under 305 cubic inches. Ford had nothing to match it. "We're getting slaughtered out there," growled Chief Engineer Jacques Pacino, crushing a cigarette under his boot. "I want a Mustang that'll make those Chevy boys cry." Enter the GM defector who would change everything. The answer came from an unlikely source: Larry Shinoda, the brilliant ex-GM designer behind icons like the Corvette Stingray. Fresh off GM's infamous 1963 racing ban, Shinoda had been recruited by Seaman Bunky Knudsen, Ford's new president and another GM exile. Together, they set out to build a Trans Am killer. The Boss 302 wasn't just another muscle car. It was a street-legal racing weapon born from necessity. To compete in the Trans Am series, Ford needed to build at least 1,000 street versions of their race car. What emerged from Dearborn was nothing short of revolutionary. Under the hood, a Chevy killer's heart. The 302 cubic inch V8 wasn't just powerful, it was engineered for war. A 4-bolt main block could handle brutal race abuse. Cleveland-style heads flowed like a thoroughbred, and a solid lifter camshaft screamed to 7,000 RPM. The factory rating of 290 horsepower was laughable. Real output neared 350 horsepower, thanks to a clever insurance dodge. Built to dominate, the track comes street legal. The close ratio top-loader 4-speed snapped through gears like a rifle bolt. The Hurst shifter delivered mechanical precision. Heavy-duty springs kept the car flat through turns, and staggered rear shocks prevented wheel hop under acceleration. The front spoiler wasn't just for looks, it added crucial downforce. Visual assault, the look that started a revolution. Bold Boss 302 decals screamed performance, the functional hood scoop fed the beast, and competition orange became the signature color, and a middle finger to Chevy's rally green. The Boss 302 didn't just meet homologation rules, it rewrote them. For 1970, Ford doubled down. The shaker hood scoop improved the airflow while looking menacing. Suspension refinements made it even more track-ready, and the blacked-out hood treatment reduced glare and looked sinister. This wasn't just a car, it was Ford's declaration that they would own the Trans Am circuit. And with drivers like Parnelli Jones behind the wheel, that's exactly what happened. The Boss 302 didn't just compete, it dominated, capturing the 1970 Trans Am Championship and cementing its place in racing history. The underground test. Ford's racing team conducted extensive testing of the Boss 302 prototype throughout 1968 to 1969, primarily at these locations: Ford's Dearborn Proving Grounds, Riverside International Raceway in California, and the Michigan State Police Testing Facility for high-speed validation. Key participants included Parnelli Jones as the lead development driver, car craft engineers who specialized in Ford's performance vehicles, and Jacques Pacino, Ford's racing program director. Documented testing events highlight critical breakthroughs. In August 1968, during testing at Riverside, Jones reported severe rear axle hop during hard cornering. The solution came from Carcraft engineer Bill Barr, who proposed staggered rear shock absorbers, with one mounted forward and the other rearward of the axle, increased spring rates, and a revised rear stabilizer bar. In October 1968, engine validation took place at the Dearborn Proving Grounds, where Ford engineers subjected the Boss 302 to 50 consecutive full-throttle runs to 7,200 RPM, oil temperature stabilization tests, and carburetor icing trials that led to a revised air intake design. By November 1968, aerodynamic testing at the Michigan State Police facility confirmed that the front spoiler reduced front-end lift by 23% at 120 miles per hour, while issues with hood scoop turbulence led to a revised design for the 1969 model. In a December 1968 interview with Hot Rod magazine, Parnelli Jones stated, "The car finally came together at our last Riverside test. With the new shocks and some suspension tweaks, we were running consistent laps within 1% of our full race setup. For a street car, that's remarkable." Factory documentation further supports these efforts. Ford's internal Boss 302 development report from January 1969 notes that engineers completed 3,472 test miles, refined 17 different suspension iterations, and tested 9 engine calibration versions under extreme temperature conditions, ranging from negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. The Great Camshaft Caper. The Boss 302 debuted in the 1970 Trans Am season, and the Camaro teams immediately knew something was wrong. Ford's Mustangs were pulling away on the straights in ways that defied physics. Chevy's protests led to a teardown inspection. There, hidden under the valve covers, inspectors found the smoking gun, camshafts with a secret B9 grind that gave Ford an extra 15 horsepower. The scandal made headlines, but the damage was done. With Parnelli Jones at the wheel, the Boss 302 crushed the competition, winning the championship and cementing its legend. Ford Mustang Boss 302, racing dominance, controversies, and legacy. The Boss 302's success in the Trans Am Series and other competitions cemented its place as one of the greatest American performance cars of the muscle car era. However, its dominance also led to controversies, including accusations of cheating, most notably in Australia with Alan Moffat's cheating Mustang saga. Trans Am racing dominance, 1969 to 1970. 1969 season, a rocky start. Ford entered the 1969 SCCA Trans Am Series with high hopes, fielding factory-backed Boss 302 Mustangs driven by legends like Parnelli Jones and George Follmer. However, the season was a learning year, with Chevrolet's Camaro Z28 powered by its own 302 V8, proving tough to beat. Lime Rock Park, May 1969, saw Parnelli Jones take a solid second place, proving the Boss 302 had potential. However, at Mid-Ohio, June 1969, mechanical failures struck, forcing Jones to retire early. Watkins Glen, July 1969, brought redemption as George Follmer secured a third-place podium finish, but reliability issues persisted. Ford ultimately finished second in the manufacturer's championship behind Chevrolet. However, the lessons learned set the stage for a dominant 1970 campaign. 1970 season, total domination. Ford returned with a vengeance, optimizing the Boss 302's aerodynamics, suspension, and engine for maximum track performance. The season opened with a statement win at Laguna Seca in March, where Jones took victory. At Lime Rock Park in May, Ford asserted its superiority with a commanding 1-2 finish, Jones taking the win and Follmer securing second. The momentum continued at Mid-Ohio in June, where Follmer clinched victory. Watkins Glen in July saw yet another dominant 1-2 finish. By season's end, Ford had secured 6 wins out of 11 races, capturing the 1970 Trans Am Manufacturers Championship. Jones also claimed the Drivers' Championship, cementing the Boss 302's superiority over Chevrolet's Camaro Z28 and solidifying its Trans Am legend status. While Ford's U.S. team was dominating the Trans Am Series, Australia had its own Boss 302 legend, Alan Moffat. His success behind the wheel of the Boss Mustang in the early 1970s led to one of the most infamous controversies in Australian touring car history, the cheating Mustang saga. Moffat's rise in accusations. Moffat, a Canadian-born racer who moved to Australia, became a Ford hero in the early 1970s, dominating in his Boss 302 Mustang. His car was so fast that rivals, especially Holden teams, claimed it must be illegal. The allegations. As a masterful driver, did Moffat really cheat? The accusations were largely gamesmanship from rival teams attempting to undermine his success. His dominance stemmed from meticulous preparation, superior race strategy, and Ford's cutting-edge engineering. Despite the persistent rumors, Moffat's Boss 302 remained one of the most feared race cars in Australian motorsport history, proving that Ford's pony car was a winner on every continent. Ghosts of the junkyard. By the mid-1970s, many Boss 302s met cruel fates. The oil crisis turned gas-guzzling muscle cars into pariahs. Original engines were pulled for boat anchors. Pristine examples rusted behind barns. But in 1988, something unexpected happened. A junkyard worker in Ohio found a grabber orange 69 Boss under a tarp, complete with its original engine. When it sold at auction for six figures, the world remembered what made these cars special. Today, survivors are treasured relics. At the 2023 Mecum auction, a numbers-matching 70s Boss hammered for $375,000. Proof that true legends never die. Epilogue. The spirit lives on. In 2011, Ford engineer Dave Perricack stood on the same test track where Parnelli Jones had once thrashed the original Boss. Before him sat the new Boss 302, its modern 444 horsepower engine growling. "Make it worthy of the name," his boss had ordered. As Perricack clicked through the digital dash, he found a surprise, a setting called Track Key. When enabled, it unleashed the car's full fury, louder exhaust, sharper throttle, and a 7,500 RPM redline. Somewhere Larry Shinoda must have been smiling. The Boss was back. The Boss 302 isn't just a car, it's a statement. From its Trans Am dominance to its modern revival, it continues to define what a true driver's Mustang should be. Pure power, razor-sharp handling, and an untamed spirit. This legend refuses to fade. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment. What's your favorite Boss 302? Until next time, keep the revs high and the tires burning.